Located next to the shining waters of the Thea Foss Waterway is a building designed to be flexible and adaptable to house many environmental disciplines. The Center for Urban Waters held its grand opening ceremony in September 2010 on the heels of a monumental cleanup of the waterway. A partnership came together to demonstrate a commitment to keeping these waters in the Puget Sound clean.
So Urban Waters combines scientists and engineers from the city of Tacoma, researchers from the University of Washington, and policymakers from Puget Sound Partnership, which is the state agency responsible for the cleanup of Puget Sound. So that allows a greater collaboration between the groups. One of the important things to come out of that was ability to fingerprint chemicals. So from a water sample, we can characterize a pollutant enough so that we can trace the actual source location of it.
This center houses the greatest concentration of scientists, engineers, and researchers in the city and possibly in the state, all working on essential environmental issues.
Environmental Services is responsible for operating the laboratory as well as a lot of the monitoring and the capital projects that are built by the Environmental Services Division. The Office of Environmental Policy and Sustainability, we're primarily focused on climate work, but we also look at increasing the overall sustainability and livability of Tacoma.
There have been a number of projects that have come out of this center.
One that we like to highlight is a regional green infrastructure project located up at Point Defiance. It's got national attention for treating stormwater coming from the north end of the city before discharging into Puget Sound.
When it opened a decade ago, the center was one of the first LEED Platinum laboratory buildings in the United States.
And what that means is it used a lot of innovative technologies 10 years ago, things like green roofs and recycled water and recycled materials. And it was a real challenge for the builders and designers at the time. Much of that's become pretty common in the industry now, largely because of the LEED program kind of drove the industry towards building new things. So the Center for Urban Waters was innovative in the sense of driving the construction industry into green buildings.
A lot of these features are considered passive green infrastructure that brings power and water savings just from the design of the building. Laboratory space is also a hybrid model, with partners sharing some spaces and using others exclusively.
So the UW Tacoma group at the Center for Urban Waters is a group of faculty and research scientists and students, graduate students and undergraduate students enrolled at the University of Washington. And they do a variety of different research projects, all kind of built around the questions of water quality, particularly in urban areas, as the name implies. So we have state-of-the-art analytical facilities, great laboratories, and that allows us to measure all kinds of chemicals and other things in the waters of Puget Sound and beyond.
An interesting feature of the Center for Urban Waters is the common goal of these three groups of protecting the Puget Sound, but all having a different perspective.
So the university is a research organization. We're trying to develop new techniques, new technologies, discover new issues. The partnership does a lot of planning, and they think sort of at a regional scale about how this all comes together. And then the city is the real pragmatic, practical, on the ground, taking samples and putting in green infrastructure. And those three groups work really well together. And we're highly compatible, right? Like we're different, but we have the same missions.
The main task of the Puget Sound Partnership is leading the collective effort to restore and recover Puget Sound.
We have three main roles in that. The first being we align the work of our partners through an action agenda, which is the recovery plan. The second, we ensure smart investments through shared science-based systems of measurements and monitoring. We use that to ensure that policymakers have the information they need to make good decisions. And finally, we support the highest priority actions in recovery.
The center offers a space that allows these groups to be centrally located in their efforts all across the Puget Sound.
The width of the roles that we play, we have a lot of different people engaged in that. We have planners, we have scientists, we have local representatives, communication staff like me, we have policymakers. So we have this really wide range of people, but it's a very small staff working on these really big problems. Personally, and I know many at the partnership are just grateful to get to look out over the Thea Foss, to work right on the Sound, doing this work. That's a pretty amazing thing. Every now and then I would take a picture, send it out across Facebook and just say, look where I get to work.